A while ago, I made this little short shifter mod for a DSX-8 shifter from Simagic. I posted about it on Reddit after people were complaining that the shifter is too hard to modify, and then ever since I've had a few people asking me about it, I've never had a good way to convey what it looks like, or more specifically, how good it feels. So today I'm going to show you everything about this, and what components I used for it, how I made it, and how you can make it for yourself. First, let me describe the problem. The original shift knob and everything sits a bit too high. It's more like way up here. And it just means that your hand has to move a lot further with every shift. It doesn't really feel like a sports car shifter, which is probably mostly what you're driving in sim racing games. So the fix is to find some way to make this whole lever shorter, but then when you take off the shift knob, you'll notice that the threads come up to a certain point, which means that you can only put so short of a knob on it. People complain, oh, you know, you have to modify this shaft, whatever. There is a way to make a different shaft here, but let me show you how simple my solution was. It does not involve making a new shaft. Now real quick, here's a before and after comparison of before I installed this and after I installed this. You can see it takes off a pretty considerable amount of height from where the shift knob sits, so your hand has to travel a lot less far. Now, putting this together is pretty simple. You basically just need a cheap shift knob like this one off of Alibaba. I'm pretty sure this is sized for a Subaru. The key to it, when you're looking for these shift knobs in particular, is that whereas the original shift knob kind of has this long base and neck that comes down here, the threads don't really go that deep. I mean, maybe the top of the threads is, I don't know, maybe right around where my finger is there. So you've got all this, you know, the whole size of this ball is going on top of where the threads end, versus on this guy, see the threads just come up right to there. But this one has a really big carve out, so the threads go, I mean, I don't really know, but they go probably almost to the top of the shifter. I could measure it out if I really wanted to, but if you want, I can make a CAD file of this shift knob. If you don't really care about having a metal one, I think having a metal one is better because it's weighted, but basically, I can get some dimensions on this, comment below if you want that. But this recess here and having those threads go deep inside there is what allows this shift knob to sit significantly lower than its counterpart from Simagic. And then this is the slightly harder part. I designed this component myself. This is just a different collar than before. And I'll show you taking this apart real quick. It's not very hard at all to take this apart, but I 3D printed this. You can 3D print it too. Originally I was going to sell this kit, but I don't really know what to do now. I mean, I've had some people interested in it, but I'm not sure if I want to put this up for free. But if you want to design something very similar to it, it's not very hard to do so. Taking this apart is pretty easy. This is the same way that your stock one would come apart. You just unthread your shift knob, which will look taller. Once you get that off, set that aside. The little Allen screw in here should be 2.5 millimeter. Alternatively, the Torx, I think T10 or so on my Swiss Army knife actually fits in here and has not stripped it, despite removing this many times. Might want to pull up on this just to get the Allen screw out all the way. Now, at this point, you're close to getting this off, but all you need to take that off for real is a 17 millimeter, I think. This is a 17 millimeter nut on the bottom of this. It threads up into the shaft here. So to take it off, you just hold this still. If it's really stuck, you maybe should do this before you take that Allen key out. But once you have it, you can just twist this guy around while you hold the nut in place. And there you go. You can take this guy off nice and easily. I'll show you what the stock parts look like. Here's the original shift knob. You can see it's pretty tall compared to the one that I have now. And additionally, here is my shaft compared to the original shaft this came with. Basically, I just took more length off of the bottom, as you can probably see there. So I just made it all a little bit shorter. For what it's worth, if you really wanted to make this a lot shorter, in addition to making a shorter collar shaft for the short shifter, you could take this whole part off. These are, I think this is an 11 or 12 millimeter wrench size right here that you just grab on either side of the shaft. And you can just turn this guy off of the lower half of the shaft. That's how you get the entire spring nut off of here. And yeah, this whole thing will come off. And if you want to, you can make a whole new one or make something very similar to it. I just never went that far because I didn't really have a lathe on hand, so I couldn't make a shaft and everything the way I want to. But yeah, this part is really easily 3D printable. You can tell that I just straight up 3D printed it from the bottom there, just like that. I did 3D print the threads here onto the inside of, I don't know how well you can see that, there are threads in there. They're not perfect, but they do work with this nut, and earlier designs, those threads did strip out pretty easily, but now I've got it so that it does stay together for a long time. In fact, I've never had this one fall out on me since. Installation is the reverse of removal. You just go ahead and you line up your slot there with the Allen key, although it goes on the opposite side, so I just turn it around 180 degrees. A note on putting this back together: when you do tighten that nut on the bottom, since it says 3D printed plastic, don't super tighten it, don't use a really long wrench or snug it down super tight. You just want it to be nice and snug. The feel on this is pretty good. I think there's more that could be done to this shifter. I had another video planned where I took apart this whole base, tried to find something inside to see if I can make some part of it stiffer. There is a spring for making the side-to-side motion of the shifter stiffer, which I think would be nice, but I just didn't have any way of finding a spring that fit in there. But as far as how it feels compared to before, it is a much shorter travel for your hand if you're grabbing the knob, or even if you're just kind of pushing it back and forth and grasping it gently like that. And then still you can lift this guy up and go all the way into reverse, or you can just as easily go all the way over into 7th and 8th. I play a lot of Assetto Corsa and iRacing, and I am yet to find a single car that I've actually needed 7th or 8th for, but I have found myself using reverse at times. I think the shorter throw with this compared with the adjustable stiffness of the shifter is what makes the shifter a really good one, but honestly, I still think it needs a little bit more stiffness in the side-to-side axial play. It's good, it's just not as perfect as I'd like it to be. In a real shifter, it's a bit stiffer. I also think this is kind of overpriced as a shifter, but if you get it during Black Friday, you'll get a good deal on it, so I think it's fine if you get it for a sale price. But yeah, that's my short shifter mod for this Simagic shifter. If you want one of these shafts, just let me know and I'll send one out and ship it to you, or if you want, you can just design your own. All you do is just model this guy real quick and make it a little shorter until it works. This is probably the second or third iteration of this, but that doesn't mean it was hard to make. It was just getting some fine adjustments on it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.